Stormwater Task Force for a few years. Given all this, I'm curious about your approach to centralized versus decentralized stormwater control. The big detention basins versus something in every yard for every development, for example. For example, just saw today that MSD in St. Louis is offering discounted rain barrels to residents, kind of like the way Columbia does with compost bins. What's your opinion on all that?
I think we got a lot of tools in the toolbox, and we need to use them all, depending on context. The low-impact development kind of approach suggests very much a decentralized approach, and I think that's really the best place to start. I think there's huge opportunities all over the landscape to reduce the problem, to create the kinds of win-wins that we want to see. Sometimes that doesn't get us all the way there, depending on the context and the watershed and the conditions. And if there remain flood control kinds of issues that can't be solved with that approach, well, there's other kinds of approaches too. And so you need to look at your specific conditions. But one of the things we've had extensive debates in Kansas City, Missouri, with their combined sewer overflow plan. And the argument that we've made, I think persuasively, is that the kinds of decentralized solutions you're talking about, whether it's a rain barrel or a rain garden or 100 other kinds of smaller scale design strategies, should be fully optimized, as it were, to then minimize the subsequent potential investment in the gray infrastructure, because you can get more kind of triple bottom line wins out of the small decentralized stuff oftentimes than you can through the larger engineering facilities. But that said, you have to be realistic as well. Does that help?
I'm Ben Landeray, and I also served on the task force, and I served on the Bonfim watershed. And I think you made a presentation to us, did you not, several years ago? I have a poor memory, but I've cited, I think you said it, but I've cited something the Lenexa stormwater fellow came to our meetings early on in the process. And if it wasn't you, then it was good that I wasn't citing you. Right.
I'll take credit, or if it's appropriate, otherwise I'll blame someone.
But either you or the person who followed you at Lenexa made the comment to us that a 100-year storm or flood in a pre-development state becomes a 7-year event after development. Is that something that you would have said?
I could imagine having said that, but I think that the idiosyncratic conditions, the context, is really important. There's some studies that a gentleman named Larry Rosner out of Colorado State did showing this kind of information, and there certainly can be a lot of variability from watershed to watershed, but I mean, we all know, of course, that as you develop the land, the hydrology changes in an urban condition, and so you have, and so that concept certainly applies. The specific numbers, I can't comment.
Well, anyway, I've used those numbers around here a lot, and I always addressed it as the stormwater director in Lenexa.
I bet Elise can comment on that more intelligently than I, but there's merit certainly in concept. Yeah.
Dan Goldstein. How would you make the economic payback argument for some of this? I think there's an interest in green infrastructure planning. There's also a very tight budget, as at least 7 people here know very well, have to look at budgets. So some of the argument that I think needs to be explored is, what is the economic payback for the city and for the municipality? What are the benefits that the city is going to see to do this?
It's a great question. There's lots of levels to that question. We're data poor with respect to that question, but there's certainly a lot of anecdotal evidence that supports some of this. When we started the Lenexa project, the study showed that the different approach, the new approach compared to the conventional one, is going to be 25% cheaper. Whether or not that was specifically bore out, it's hard to say because things evolve over time, and what are you really comparing to what? But there was a sound basis for that conclusion at the outset. The leadership of Lenexa today will tell you that they aren't framing those investments in terms of stormwater. While they provide certain specific stormwater benefits, it has proven to be an instrumental economic development tool. It's a quality of life tool that helps with business recruitment, economic development, real estate values, all of those things. That's one level. For Kansas City, Missouri, in their overflow control plan, well, I doubt you guys have combined sewers in Columbia, but nonetheless, we advocated a green infrastructure approach, and we're in essence comparing a green versus gray. And there was a situation where we showed clearly, I think, that this green approach there was a $50 million gray approach, and with the alternative, we think we hit it at 35. The decentralized thing. That was at a fairly high level kind of analysis, but we believe that we're in the ballpark at least. So there's that. On a sort of a site level, I recall there was a 300-acre development and kind of north of the river, maybe in the Liberty, between Kansas City, Missouri and Liberty over in Clay County. And the developer was interested in doing some stuff differently, and we had the opportunity to put together a very detailed pro forma looking at the options, and where the biggest cost savings came. I think we showed that the green approach was going to save this developer something on the scale of, I don't know, $3 million. And the lion's share of that savings had to do with reduced land disturbance. You're just moving less earth, and there's huge savings associated with that. There were also significant savings associated with having less pipe to put underground and shorter and narrower streets. And those were significant. Some of those savings were offset by substantial increases both on the upfront planning and design side and increased investment in landscaping. And it's important to note further that if you're interested in sort of the rain garden kind of thing, you have to continue to maintain that over time, which also has a cost. Maybe that cost is equal to replacing the pipe after 30 years, but the accounting is different. So those are three examples. There's others in the literature. One of the things that's interesting from the green building community, which is it's a different world than what we're talking about here. But it used to be said the premium for a green building is 10%, 12%, and I think anymore there's no premium associated with. They say a silver LEED building, and what I've even heard is that folks who aspire the highest, say to a LEED platinum building, those buildings can at times even cost less. And the reason is people are thinking more deeply, more integratively, thinking more at a systems level, and in that they're finding more synergies, more efficiencies, more of the win-win kinds of solutions across the different systems. And I speculate that in the practice of land development, those same kinds of things might be true as well. To start on an answer, it's a big question.
Big question. I guess, the other question is kind of a leading question of when's the best time to start?
Yesterday?
What?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, exactly. One of the things that in one of your slides, you showed trails along with some of the green infrastructure corridors, and I know there's I don't know if you know about the Get About Columbia project here, where they've been trying to cite and add pedways and trails. So this is really doing this early. Seems like there's a payoff to develop these plans and the infrastructure plans early. It's kind of a leading question.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. One of the things that was, I don't know if you guys have dealt with this here a lot. When we were in Lenexa, that was the first community in Kansas City that passed a stream setback ordinance, and a group of attorneys stepped forward and said, you can't do it, and you got all these takings issues. And we proved it to just be a bogus concern. But in those instances when it does arise, then you get to just buy the land, at market value. And you get to put in place these kinds of interconnected trail systems that have all these benefits. And among them, they oftentimes, at least in Kansas City, follow these stream corridors, which then give you the habitat, environmental benefits, along with the real estate and the transportation kinds of things. And patching that together with different kinds of street design. And there's really fun things to do. So congratulations on getting that big grant. That was really impressive. Gets to claim responsibility. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to meet you.
Tom, thank you very much. A lot of great comments and really kind of summed up a lot of the things that we in the council have been talking about for the last many weeks. So thank you for sharing. Thanks for being here.